It was the Monday after the 4th of July holiday in Helena, Montana. It was the kind of day that makes you realize why they call the state Big Sky Country. In the state's public health department, Tom was busy setting up a routine acid-fast test for tuberculosis on a specimen that had come in on a college student. It had arrived the day before from a hospital emergency room in a very small town. At the same time, Carrie was doing a routine rapid test for tuberculosis, and those results turned out positive. So you see, Tom wasn't too surprised 2 weeks later when his culture results also turned out to be positive. And then he did what is routine in his organization, is he set up a susceptibility test. Only about 14 days later, those results didn't really look quite normal. In fact, the initial results showed that this college student was resistant to every single thing that Tom had tested against. Oh my gosh, I wonder what's going on here. I wonder if I need to repeat this test. I'm just not certain about these results. Well, before taking action, Tom decided to go talk to the TB program manager. Denise, I think I need to reset the susceptibility test on this college student. The results are looking really suspicious. Well, Tom, I just found out that this student is a foreign exchange student from a third world country. So, it's possible that it's a resistant tuberculosis. Well, Denise didn't need to say anything more, and Tom was off. He went to go find Susie Zanto, who heads the department. And you know what? Within an hour, they had polled societies like ASCLS, and they discovered that there was a laboratory that did molecular testing for tuberculosis. And you know what? Within a week, they got back the test results. But guess what? Those results confirmed exactly what Tom had found. That college student had multiple drug-resistant tuberculosis. So the next thing that they did was they had to inform the public health nurses in the small town in which the student resided. They got her the treatment that she needed very, very quickly because Tom had not repeated the tests. And you know what? They were instrumental in keeping her in Montana until it was safe enough for her to go. During that same time period, Susie contacted the Centers for Disease Control, and eventually they came up with the same results that Tom had. But you know what they told her? They told her how proud they were that her staff did exactly everything they needed to do, and that they didn't sit on those test results and wait for them to be repeated. So think of how the staff felt when they heard all of this information. Everybody's feeling pretty good about what had happened. And Tom, well, he was really happy because everything had happened very, very quickly, and he was able to impact this college student's life. And you know what's even more exciting? When this student went home to her native country, she went ahead and started helping tuberculosis patients take their medications and help them follow up on their care. All in all, wouldn't you admit? Pretty big success story, isn't it? Absolutely. But as time would have it, September passed, and then October, and November, and December, and January, February, and March. Remember Denise, the TV program manager? Well, Susie, in April, went to one of her bureau meetings, and she heard Denise mention that she planned to give an award in May to those 2 public health nurses for all their diligent and hard work. Well, think about it. In a small town in the state of Montana, how typical is it to get a case of tuberculosis, let alone a resistant case and know exactly what needs to be done. You know, and Denise happened to mention that it was only going to be a local affair, so no really big deal. So Susie didn't think much about the situation. Until a couple of days later, when she saw Tom approaching her fast in the hallway. Susie, did you see that press release that went out? I mean, there was an email about it, and it went everywhere. Now, you know what? It didn't say anything about our department, and it definitely didn't say anything about me. I mean, come on, Susie. You know how hard I worked on this situation. I mean, I know those nurses deserve credit, but what about us? Well, you know, later that afternoon, Susie heard the same concern from two other staff people, so she decided to hunt down Denise. Denise, what's going on here? You know, I thought that press release was going out locally, and then I discovered it went to every single media outlet in the entire state of Montana. I mean, come on. I mean, my staff's responsible for the rapid diagnosis, and they're responsible for the rapid answers, and they're responsible for the sort of treatment that the student eventually got. I mean, what do you want me to tell them? Oh, Susie, I'm really sorry. I had no idea that press release was going to go out to everybody across the state, and, you know, I kind of lost control of things when the powers that be stepped in and took over, and the most I could do was make certain that the information in the press release was accurate. I can't make the situation any different than it is, but what I do plan to do is I plan in a couple of days when I talk at a TB controllers meeting, I'm going to mention how great your staff did in contrast to what happened with the Andrew Speaker case. Well, that's all fine and good, but I got to tell you, next time, you need to remember to get our 2 cents worth in there, too. And you know, at that very moment, Susie realized that she needed to talk about the press release in her staff meeting the next day. You know, she needed to let Tom and all the staff know that she had tried to do something about the situation. And so the next morning came, and in walked all of her staff, and she could see the look of disappointment on their face, all 20 of them. Well, you know, it's not fair. Well, you know, it's just the way things are around here. We don't get any recognition. I mean, what's different? Everything we do is behind the scenes. You know, Susie listened to this conversation for a couple of minutes, and then she decided to intervene. Folks, we can sit here and feel bad about not getting any credit, or we can take action. Now, I don't know about you, but what I'd like to do with our time is I'd like to figure out ways in which we can get noticed. And you know what? It didn't take the staff very long to mobilize. In fact, they very quickly thought of a great idea around one of their own staff members. Because you see, Joel, he recalled that Vivian had just gotten the statewide Member of the Year award from ASCLS, and the group thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool if we gave her the award again in front of the entire bureau? And guess what? When they did that, the bureau chief even showed up. And to make things even better, they were able to get a story into their organization's newsletter that went out to 3,000 people. And to top that off, Susie took another step. They took a photograph of the ceremony, talked about all the past winners, including Vivian, and they sent the story to the local newspaper. Now, they don't know if it's going to get published, but hey, you never know unless you try. In order to get noticed and be heard, Susie's staff decided to move beyond their disappointment and to take the initiative to start telling their own success stories. And you know what? In the process, they got the recognition that they really deserved. Now, think about your laboratory or organization? I mean, if next week a situation akin to this were to occur, how do you think people would react? Would they throw their hands up in the air and say, "Can't do anything about it, it's the way life is"? Or would they take the opportunity to tell their own success stories? You know, and what would it take for that to happen? And I guess even more importantly, what's your role when you go back to work next week in making that happen? Because you see, in order to get noticed and be heard, you need to tell your story.